Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order 51, I move that the Heritage Bill 2023 be considered by Parliament without delay. The bill must pass through one stage at a single sitting of Parliament. The bill must not be referred to a standing committee or other committee of Parliament, and that the bill must be debated and voted upon by Parliament Thursday, 14th of September 2023, but that one now be given to debate the bill with the right of reply given to me as the member moving this motion.
Is there a seconder?
Honourable Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you. And I now call on the Attorney General to speak on his motion.
Mr. Speaker, sir, Fiji became a party to the Convention concerning the protection of world, cultural and national heritage, which was adopted at the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, what is commonly called UNESCO, General Conference in 1972, on the 21st of November, 1990. Fiji is a state party to the World Heritage Convention. It is required under the World Heritage Convention to adopt a legislative and administrative provisions to give effect to the World Heritage Convention. Therefore, the Heritage Bill 2023 provides for the domestic application of the World Heritage Convention in Fiji. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would just like to highlight at this point, in 2016, a Heritage Bill, Bill number 10 of 2016, was introduced into Parliament and referred to the Standing Committee on Social Affairs. Mr. Speaker, sir, although the Standing Committee then had begun its deliberations on the bill, there was ultimately no enactment of any such law. Mr. Speaker, sir, that bill lapsed. In 2021, a Heritage Bill 2021, number 3 of 2021, was tabled in Parliament and referred to the Standing Committee on Human Rights, Law and Justice. Extensive consultations were held by the Standing Committee at various locations and communities at site level, Levuka World Heritage Site, with various stakeholders in Levuka, at national level with various government agencies, and at the community level with communities both in Witilevu and Ponulevu. Mr. Speaker, sir, that bill also lapsed. It is evident that the intention to bring forth and pass a law specifically dedicated to advance Fiji's protection of national and World Heritage sites and places has been too long a journey. There is no excuse now, Mr. Speaker, sir, to further prolong something that will benefit Fiji, not only for ourselves in this present time and age, but also for our future generations. Fiji, being a state member of the World Heritage Convention, is also obliged to conform to and implement the Convention and its operational guidelines. Mr. Speaker, sir, I therefore recommend that it would be prudent at this August House to urgently consider the bill that is tabled before Parliament this morning. There have been consultations with the Department of Heritage, the Ministry of Finance, and the Office of the Solicitor General. If I may touch on some of the key aspects of the bill. The bill is comprised of 9 parts and a schedule as follows. Part 1, preliminary. Part 2 deals with Heritage Council. Part 3 deals with accounts and finance. Part 4 deals with the register. Part 5 with the management of potential World Heritage Place. Part 6 deals with World Heritage listing. Part 7 deals with funds for Fiji's heritage. Part 8, buffer zones. And Part 5 deals with miscellaneous. And the schedule is a criteria for assessment of outstanding universal value. Clause 1 of the bill provides for the short title and commencement. If passed by Parliament, The amending legislation will come into force on a date appointed by the Minister by notice in the Gazette. Clause 2 of the bill provides the definition of the terms used throughout the bill. Clause 3 of the bill provides that the objectives of the bill are to provide for the recognition and management of places having potential and actual World Heritage values, establish the Fiji Heritage Council, establish the Fiji Register, provide for the management and operating trust funds for places registered in the Fiji Register, implement Fiji's obligations under the World Heritage Convention, and provide for other matters that are necessary for the administration of the new legislation. Clause 4 of the bill stipulates that the new legislation will bind the state. Clause 5 of the bill provides that the department responsible for heritage will administer the new legislation and perform all the functions assigned to it by or under the new legislation. Clause 6 of the bill provides for the establishment of the council and the composition of the council. The council comprises of 11 ex officio members and 4 other members appointed by the minister responsible for the heritage department. The 4 other members appointed by the minister may hold office for a term of 3 years and are eligible for reappointment. The council may invite a person of expert knowledge to its meeting. Moreover, the director responsible for heritage is the secretary of the council. Clause 7 of the bill provides for the principles that will guide the decision and functions of the council. The principles are based on Fiji's obligation under the World Heritage Convention and the operation guidelines for the implementation of the World Heritage Convention. Clause 8 of the bill outlines functions of the council. The council is to advise the minister on matters regarding the recognition and the management of places in Fiji having potential and actual World Heritage values and Fiji's obligation under the World Heritage Convention. The Council may also, inter alia, develop policy direction to support Fiji's obligation under the World Heritage Convention. Mr. Speaker, Clause 9 of the bill outlines the procedures for meetings and the governance of the Council. Clause 10 of the bill provides for the disclosure of any direct or indirect interest by a member of the Council in relation to a matter which may be in conflict with his or her role as a member of the Council. Clause 11 of the bill prescribes the duties of the Secretary to the Council. The Council may require a Secretary to administer and facilitate the obligations of the Council under the bill and to facilitate Fiji's obligations under the bill. Clause 2 of the bill provides indemnity for any act done or omitted in good faith by any member of the Council, the Department, or public officers employed by the Council or the Department. Clause 13 of the bill provides for the different sources of funds for the Council. Clause 14 of the bill provides for the efficient and proper financial management of accounts of the Council and the auditing of the statement of accounts to be conducted by the Office of the Attorney General, of the Auditor General. The certified statement of accounts must be submitted to the Minister, and the Minister must present the same before Cabinet within 28 days of receiving the Office of the Auditor General's report. Clause 15 of the bill provides for the Council is required to submit an annual report to the Minister, and that on the receipt of an annual report, the Minister must present the annual report to Cabinet. Clause 16 of the bill provides for the establishment of the Fiji Register of Potential World Heritage Places in Fiji. The register lists successful nomination of potential World Heritage Places in Fiji that meets the criteria for nomination set by the Council. Clause 17 of the bill provides for the requirement and criteria set by the Council regarding any nomination by the public or whether a place can become a potential World Heritage Place in Fiji. Clause 18 of the bill provides for the process for determining a nomination for the register. Clause 19 of the bill provides for the management of any potential World Heritage Place. It must comply with the standard required by the Council and be undertaken by an approved management authority and according to its management plan. Mr. Speaker, sir, The bill, there's also an explanatory note on the bill. And those. The bill before the House.
Thank you. Honorable members, the floor is now open for debate on the motion. At the end of the debate, we will have the right of reply from the mover. Yes, Honorable Opposition Whip.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to actually bring to attention of this August House that rightfully said by Attorney General that yes, this bill was first referred to Standing Committee on Social Affairs in 2016 and it lapsed. And then it was reintroduced to this August House and it was referred to Standing Committee on Justice, Law and Human Rights, which I used to chair. We had massive consultation all around Fiji. We went to these heritage sites and especially we visited Levuka. One of the reasons why it was actually referred to Standing Committee on Justice, Law and Human Rights, because there were a lot of legality that we had to actually go through before actually coming back with a report to this August House. Unfortunately, at that point in time, in the last term, the time lapsed and Standing Committee on Justice, Law and Human Rights wasn't able to bring a report back to the Parliament. One thing that we need to recognize with this particular bill is we have to actually go through the process as defined by UNESCO to pass this particular bill. One of the major issues that we actually faced when we actually went to Levuka was the buffer zone. There are buildings that are actually deteriorating and have abolished because they were not able to fix it because of some of the restrictions that are actually put in place because it's a World Heritage Site now. There is a lot of issues that we actually face by the people. And Honorable Speaker, another thing that we did mention that this particular bill, when it becomes an act, would have one of the biggest council with 17 members in it. And on top of that, none of the members are the taxpayers or the ratepayers of Levuka. These are some of the recommendations that we were actually working on to bring before the Parliament that this bill needs to be amended. Clear definition, there are 4 particular departments which are actually looking after heritage. Department of Heritage under Ministry of Itoke Affairs, Fiji National Trust, Fiji Heritage Council and Fiji Museum. But this bill doesn't define what are the different roles of this particular 4 departments and agencies, and they were actually overlapping each other. There is no clear-cut indications to it. Honorable Speaker, we must actually ensure that when we are talking about World Heritage Site, all other sites are just on the listing. They are not World Heritage Sites. They are national sites covered by under National Trust or Department of Heritage. We are not dealing with humans with those sites. But when it comes to Levuka, we are dealing with humans, we are dealing with investments, we are dealing with business people. The initial building that was there for Fiji times where the production started, because they were not able to refurbish that particular building, there is no longer a particular building. And if this building goes in the form that is, none of them will be able to actually renovate their buildings. I asked the government to send this bill to the committee and complete the work that Standing Committee on Justice, Law and Human Rights started in 2019. There were issues like COVID when we were not able to actually consult, and that was the reason. There was no interior motive about this. I do understand the importance of actually bringing this bill to the Parliament because there is UNESCO funding. Unless and until we domesticate our treaties by actually bringing a particular domestic law, UNESCO won't release that funding. But what we need to realize that funding is not much. It won't actually fix the problem in Levuka that people of Levuka are facing at the moment. The ratepayers are basically crying and they are requesting When we were there, they requested us that please remove Levuka as a World Heritage Site. That's the extent, Honorable Speaker. We went for the consultation of Balaji. Please, this is the time to listen because we are saying what people of Levuka told us. Yes. And at that point in time, Honorable Moses Bulitavu, who used to be an opposition member, was also a member of Justice, Law and Human Rights, Honorable Speaker. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It needs to go to the committee. Unless and until I describe what is in the content, we won't understand why it needs to go to the committee. Yes.
The motion is on 51.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying, Honorable Speaker. It needs to be sent to the committee rather than actually having it pass over here because it will have drastic effect on the people of Levuka, Honorable Speaker. With this word, Honorable Speaker, I strongly recommend.
We can discuss it when we address the substantive motion. That's what you're referring to now. The motion before us is on 51.
I'm just explaining, Honorable Speaker, why it needs to be sent to.
May I remind you, Honorable Whip, the house that we are in now is part of the heritage. It's difficult for us here in this house to ask for any extension or renovation works to be undertaken because it's already listed. That's why we need a very clear demarcation of the roles of the committee that you said, plus the law. That's why we need to have this before the treaty.
We have already rectified the treaty, Honorable Speaker.
Right.
What I'm saying is, all those things that you have just mentioned is not part of this bill. And as a previous chair, that's what I'm saying, that this bill needs to be amended to bring all those amendments before we can actually pass this bill over here. That's all I'm saying, Honorable Speaker. Imagine as a parliament, we have so much of difficulty to actually do anything in this particular building. Just think what people of Levuka are actually facing if they actually have to do a renovation in their building. We have seen the condition of those buildings here. It cannot go in the form that is actually presented at this point in time. It needs to be sent to the committee for it to be reviewed and brought back to the parliament. Thank you.
Well, we should have discussed this at the business committee. Yeah, we never discussed it. So, let's move on.
Let's move.
Any other member would like to take the floor?
Yes, sir.
On the 51?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Again, obviously, this is, I think what we need to do is realize that this is not anything to do with politics. It's actually to do with Fiji. And we're being facilitative here, Honourable Attorney General. Honourable Elric Maharaj was the chair of that committee, sir. So all he's saying is that by the use of Order 51, we are circumventing or circumnavigating some things that are required for the bill to be full and happy at the end of the day. The people of Levuka need to ensure that we protect them also. I understand also, Honourable Speaker, that there are certain requirements, etc., that need to be met, but it's not about politics here, sir. We're just saying that the bill had gone through 2 readings. It had gone through 2 readings, and fair is fair. It needed, after extensive consultations by the committee, and I also stand here as a current member of the Committee on Justice, Law and Human Rights. We will do our utmost with the consent of my chairman to try and ensure that it's done really quickly, because we also want it done. But let's do it in a way that we cover all the bases and we don't have to keep coming back for an amendment on the heritage bill. That's all that's being asked, sir. And I ask that, and I urge that please think about Fiji and think about our reputation about getting it right. We must get it legally correct and legally right, so we do so. And what's paramount here, sir, this is Levuka. You should know, sir. This is Levuka. And this is to ensure that Levuka remains a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I'm sure my chair at the committee will also say this, that we will do our utmost to try and get this expedited and finished as quickly as possible. That's all.
Thank you. Any other? Honourable Bulitavu?
Honorable Speaker, sir, I rise to give a brief contribution to the bill under Standing Orders 51. There's nothing urgent in the bill. The bill was about to go to third reading. And it was in the committee, and it went back to the ministry, given the advice by the Solicitor General that the current form of the bill, given some issues that came up during a discussion with the drafters at that time. One was the composition of the council, where people in Levuka wanted to be part of the council. And the other issue was the penalties that came with those that have breached if they want to renovate their buildings in Levuka and they breach and the penalties were too high. Those are some of the issues that came from the residents in Levuka. That's why we had to go back to a form so that we could protect those in Levuka. But again, what I'll urge the Honorable Attorney General, if this, given the last parliament that dealt with this, when it was dissolved, the bill was it lapsed, and there's still pending work in the committee. And I thought that this particular bill would have been restated when the House convened. So this particular bill could have been referred to the committee at least for the next sitting, where we'll we'll have to check the current form that the Honorable Attorney General has tabled in the House today with what the pending work that was there, and also bring back to the House with the relevant report, the work that was done then, plus the current changes that we have not seen that are in here to be tabling together. So the House will be a better position to go into third reading, sir, on this particular bill before we pass. There's nothing urgent here, sir, and that's what we submit. If this bill can be withdrawn and bring back in the right procedures, because we are just domesticating an international treaty. And this will be also, it has bearing in the next motion too, on the international fisheries one, where you need to do domestication. And also it has bearing too on one of the bills that he had tabled yesterday on Standing Orders 51, on the removal of the corruption jurisdiction of the High Court, which is also part of a domestication of an international convention that Fiji had ratified. So these are the domestic part, and I'd like to urge the Honorable Attorney General to look at this very carefully. Vinaka.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Usmadi.
Mr. Speaker says just a request. If the Honorable Prime Minister and Attorney General might consider that this be referred back to the committee and brought back in the November session, so that we can iron out the issues that have been brought up by outside of the House. It's just a request, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
They put forward a request, honorable members.
Mr. Speaker, say yes. We are listening from this side. Okay. For your information too, I was in Levuka the last 2 months. Okay. But let me correct something. There has been a lot of misinformation on this issue. People in Levuka, by the previous government. The impression is this: one, the whole of Overlaw is covered under heritage. No, it's not. It's all a zone. Second, they cannot paint. So you can paint the town, but there is a process. You can dismantle, but there is a process. But we agree that through ventilation of this bill, through the committee, we want to see that this comes in a good shape. It caters for all the inequities that was there before. So, Mr. Speaker, so we will withdraw the bill under Order 51.
Thank you. Finally, there's bipartisan.